All right, let's talk about something that can feel, well, super intimidating for just about anyone: academic writing. It's dense, it's formal, and honestly, it often feels like it's designed to be confusing. But what if I told you it's not about confusion at all? What if it's actually a code, a system with its own logic, its own rules, and a very specific purpose? I mean, you've totally been there, right? You're excited to learn about something, you find a great research paper, you click open the file, and your eyes just immediately glaze over. The sentences are a mile long, the words are ridiculously complex, and it just feels impossible to get through. It's a common feeling, and believe me, there's a really good reason for it. Because, in a way, you are reading another language. It's the language of research, and it's built from the ground up for things like precision and objectivity. But here's the good news. Just like any language, you can learn to speak it. And today, we're handing you the key to crack that code, starting with the first thing you always notice: the style. So first things first, let's talk about style. A great way to think about academic writing style is to see it as a kind of uniform. Seriously, it's not about being flashy or showing off your creative flair. It's about signaling that you belong to a very specific community. And this uniform is designed to create a very particular persona, one that's objective, totally formal, and an authority on the topic. Okay, check this out. It's a small change, but it makes a huge difference. In everyday chat, we'd say something like "come up with" all the time. But in the academic uniform, precision is everything. A single, more formal verb like devised or proposed just carries more weight, a more specific meaning. This is one of the first pieces of the code. You trade in those casual phrases for sharp, precise verbs. Here's another classic you'll see everywhere: a lot of. I mean, what even is a lot? It's super vague. Academic writing tries to get rid of that ambiguity. So instead, you'll see words like considerable or significant. Yeah, they're still general, but they just sound more formal and carry more authority. It's subtle, but it's all part of building that objective voice. Another key piece of this uniform is that you'll almost never see a research paper talk directly to you. And that's totally on purpose. Talking to the reader creates a personal connection, right? But the goal here is the exact opposite. It's objectivity. So writers use this impersonal voice, often using passive forms like "the results can be seen," just to keep the focus entirely on the research itself, not on you or them. Now this brings us to a big one, a concept that is almost single-handedly responsible for that dense, abstract feeling you get from academic texts. It's called nominalization. It sounds way more complicated than it is. All it means is turning actions, verbs, into things or concepts, nouns. And this one little trick lets writers cram a ton of information into one big, complex sentence. And this example just nails the effect. The first version, two simple, clear sentences. Super easy to read. But the second version uses nominalization. It turns emerged into emergence. And by doing that, it mashes those two ideas into one single, dense, and very academic-sounding sentence. I'm telling you, once you learn to spot this, you will see it absolutely everywhere. So we've seen the code at the sentence level, but it doesn't stop there. The code also applies to the entire structure of a research paper. It's not just the words that follow a pattern. The whole argument is built on a very predictable blueprint. And that structure is there to help guide you, the reader, logically through a really complex idea. And the most common blueprint by far is something we can call the general to specific funnel. It's just an incredibly logical way to build an argument. You start with this big, wide-angle view of the topic that pretty much everyone can agree on. Then, bit by bit, sentence by sentence, you narrow that focus, zooming in until you land on the specific problem or question the paper is going to tackle. And writers will often kick this funnel off with a really powerful hook, like a startling statistic. This quote does that perfectly. It just grabs your attention with a big, serious number. It immediately tells you why this topic matters before it even begins to narrow down to the specific issue the paper is going to investigate. It's a classic move, and it's super effective. Okay, so we've got the style and we've got the structure. But there's one last really crucial layer to this code, and it's all about how academics talk about their own findings. This is where you can really see the art of academic communication. It's all about presenting knowledge in a responsible way. I just love this idea, being confidently uncertain. It sounds like a total contradiction, right? But it is the absolute heart of good scholarship. No single study ever proves anything definitively. Knowledge is built slowly, piece by piece, brick by brick. So being honest about the limits of your own research isn't a weakness. It's a superpower. It's a sign of real intellectual strength. This whole technique of being confidently uncertain actually has a name. It's called hedging. It's all about using cautious, careful language to show exactly how confident or uncertain you are about a claim. So instead of making these huge, sweeping statements, researchers hedge their language to accurately show the limits of their evidence. I mean, just look at the difference here. On one side, you have these really strong absolute words like proves and demonstrates. But the academic code almost always favors the words on the other side: suggests, indicates, appears to. This cautious language leaves room for other ideas and acknowledges that any one study is just a single piece in a much, much bigger puzzle. So, we've looked at the style, the structure, and the cautious way of making a case. But you might be wondering, why? Why go to all this trouble? Why does this code even exist? Well, I can tell you it's not to exclude people or to sound complicated just for the sake of it. The whole purpose comes down to function. This language is a tool, and it's designed for a very specific job: to build reliable knowledge. It chooses precision over poetry and objectivity over opinion every single time. Every rule we've talked about is there to make the research clearer, more credible, and a solid brick in the wall of human understanding. It's basically the price of admission to join this global evidence-based conversation that's been going on for centuries. And here's the best part. Once you understand these rules, everything changes. You're not intimidated by that dense wall of text anymore. You can see the structure. You get why the author made certain choices, and you can evaluate their claims like a pro. You have the key. You're not an outsider anymore. You're an insider. So the next time you open up a research paper, don't just read the words on the page. Try to read the code. Look for those formal verbs. Look for that funnel structure, and look for the careful hedging. Which leaves us with one final thought. Now that you can read the code, what are you going to see that you never noticed before?